All right, everybody, we'll get started in just a couple of seconds here. We have some people here who might have gotten caught in traffic. A couple more seconds here to get in. Thank you for showing up on time. I appreciate it a lot, and we'll get started in just a few more seconds. All right, everybody, welcome. Thank you. This is 10 Key Factors for Content Marketing Success, and we're going to get started now. Hi, my name's Pat McGraw. I'll be your host today. Thank you very much again for being here today. It's great to have you all. I know how busy you can be. Just to give you a little background on who I am. This will probably help. A little visualization here. In the upper right corner, you see a very stern-looking Uncle Sam. Well, I was born in a town called Troy, New York, in upstate New York, just outside of Albany, in the Capital District. And Troy is, for those of you who love to play Trivial Pursuit, the actual burying place for the actual Uncle Sam, Sam Wilson. And if that isn't enough reason to explain why I then moved from Troy after 19 years of my life. Lovely area, but the winters were terrible, so I thought one day while I was attending State University of New York at Albany and trying to get my lighter to warm up my car key so that I could get it through the ice on the car door and get in the car, I decided it was time for another chapter in my life. That's what you'll see here on the left with the trident. And for those of you who are familiar with Arizona State University and Sparky, our mascot, I went from the cold to the dry heat of Tempe, Arizona, and I earned my bachelor's in business administration from Arizona State University, and then embarked on a career on both the client and agency side, working for small, medium, and large businesses, marketing, strategic planning, research, marketing operations, the whole 9 yards, and was able to get a really good feel for a broad array of different industries, and that's really what the expertise I bring to the table with my clients today. After 18 years in the Valley of the Sun, my wife and I had a nice little conversation because we had 3 or 4 consecutive days of heat that was above 120 degrees. And just, again, for you Trivial Pursuit players, airline tires are only tested to 120 degrees. So when they start closing the local airports because of the heat, you realize it's time to consider a move. And if you've ever lived in your oven at 350 and bake, you know exactly what summer in Phoenix and Tempe is, because it's just that wave, that wind that comes out of that oven when you open up the door and you get hit in the face with it. So we looked at each other, we looked around, and that brought us to the picture in the bottom, which is Baltimore. That's the Inner Harbor, for those of you who've never been here. You will notice that there are no vermin or rats or anything like that, as some have alluded to recently. Been here about 20 years, love the area, have continued my work with a variety of different firms, specializing in higher education and ed tech for probably about 10 years, but still working with retailers, professional service firms, both on the agency and the client side, and have expanded my experiences that way. Also picked up my master's in science in marketing from Johns Hopkins University here in Baltimore, and have started in the last 10 years teaching college, both undergraduate and graduate courses, in person, in the classroom, and online, at institutions like University of Maryland, University College, Towson University, Strayer University, and Southern New Hampshire University online. I've also been a guest speaker a couple of times back at Johns Hopkins, my alma mater, so enjoy that side of the life too. All right, that's a little bit about me. This is, will be shown at the end as well, but if you do want to get in contact with me, don't hesitate. I haven't bitten anybody ever, and happy to answer any questions and be of help as I can. It's a small world, so please, use it. Reach out, feel free. If you've wondered why I haven't responded to anything you've been saying to me, it's because the audio is turned off. Didn't mean to be rude, but thought this would be easier and a little bit more beneficial for all of us. But if you do have any questions, you've got on the left side of the screen a chat box that you can either use as chat or click on the question box, and then it'll come to me as a question. I'll try to get to all the questions as they come across, but we also have time at the end of the webinar for questions and answers. And if I'm unable to answer anything, I will include it in the email you'll get within about 24 hours. That will include the webinar archive link, any additional questions that I answered offline, and also links to the offers that we will get to in a little bit. Speaking of a little bit, at the end of the webinar, I've got what I think is a pretty special offer. I hope you do. So stick around for it. It is access to my online content marketing certification course, and it will be free. And I'll show you how to get that and be able to put that certificate on your resume and your LinkedIn profile for a little extra weight. And don't worry, it's not a certificate for me sitting at the couch or the kitchen table with my crayon box. It comes from a very reputable firm that manages certificates and badges for leading universities and corporations. So it's a real valuable, honestly, it's a real valuable credential. It's a good thing to have. And I've got a free offer for you on this one, so we'll get to that at the end. Now, before I dive into the content tonight, I want to get a little feel for what you guys are all about. So if you'd be so kind, you'll see up on your screen right now the ability to vote in this poll. Which of the following is your greatest content marketing challenge? A, people, meaning the number, the quantity, and the expertise. You may have enough people, but maybe they lack the expertise. Maybe you've got great expertise, but not enough people. Budget is choice B. Do we have the financial resources to make it all happen? Technology. Do we have the CMS? Do we have the marketing technology? All those fun things. And D, other, not listed. Hopefully there are a lot of those, but we'll see how it goes. And why don't you go ahead and take a second or two, and I'll let you vote, and then I'll show the results, and then we can move on into the meat of the matter, why you guys came here today, and get through that so that you can walk away with some new insights that you can be able to implement as quickly as possible for helping improve your performance. All right. Looks like everybody voted. Budget, not a really big surprise. I kind of figured that. People, both quantity and the expertise. I think it's tough for us right now with the expertise because the technology is changing so frequently, both what we have in-house and what we're working with externally. Not too surprising, though this is good. This helps me formulate the presentation a little bit better, and I'll focus on things that will be more relevant for those types of issues. All right, now let's get on to the meat of the matter. First of the top 10 habits of highly effective content marketing organizations is those organizations know their audience and have broken it down into their segments. And by knowing your audience and your segments, I'm talking about they've done the research and they continue to do the research. It is in an ongoing investment for their businesses to reach out to their audiences and ask, what are your problems? What are your wants? What are your needs? What are your perceptions of possible solutions? You know, our business, our product, the competitions, their products. What media are you using in order to gather information? Once you gather it, what's your selection criteria? How are you ranking us versus them? What do you feel is important in terms of benefits and features and things of that nature? A lot of folks, go by gut, and that's a tough road to go, and it can really lead to a lot of wasted effort, both monetary and human resources. Now, this is an example of a buyer persona that I worked on for a small liberal arts college in the Midwest. So you'll see over on the right side, over in this area, that we focused on education, wants, and needs. But this is where you really want to go, and this is where the highly effective content marketing programs are at. They've got this level of detail, and they've invested in this so they become more effective and efficient with their work. Now, there is no right format. There is no one-size-fits-all. They're all going to be designed based on your own unique wants and needs and abilities. There's that old saying about, when you're designing a web form, you never ask a question that you're not going to immediately take action on the response. Well, on here, put the information that you need that you're going to be able to work on, and don't worry about the other things until you've got the resources and the ability to actually address them. Here we've got demographics, very specific, age range, marital status, home ownership, income level, degrees, education level. Geographic, this gets very specific, down to Southern California, Metro Phoenix, Florida coastal counties, New England, mentions the states. Gives an estimated market audience size, I should say, of 1.5 million. And because this was a campus, about 100,000 of people with these factors live within 100 miles of the campus. And for higher education, that's very relevant because that's typically where they get not only their on-campus students, but their online students as well. Though most of them may go into the online program offering, hoping they're going to serve people all around the world. They tend to get them from close to home because that's where their brand awareness is the highest. Now, you'll notice this is very specific. One of the things that I always run into with clients and also my students in college is I don't want to be this specific because that means I can't do work with anybody who doesn't meet these criteria. And that's not true. We've got limited resources. We have to focus them on where we think we're going to get the biggest bang. And this is, after research, this is where we felt there was enough opportunity for us to go in and pursue these types of people and bring them into the fold as students. It's not turning away business. This is where we're focusing. Those other people may still come in. You're still going to sell them, but this is where you're going to focus your efforts on. On psychographic, the hobbies. Travels 6 to 8 times a year for personal reasons. Travels outside the U.S. at least twice a year for personal reasons. They belong to a gym and work out 5 times or more a week for 60 to 120 minutes per session. They drive a Prius hybrid. They shop at Macy's. They eat at Panera. You get a nice rounded feel for who these people are. You get personality as opposed to just the bare factoids of a demographic list. 38-year-old. What do they do for fun? How do they live their lives? Media habits. This is perfect for your media plan. This will tell you where they go to get information so that you can focus on being at the right place during their decision-making process. So this got into internet. Spends 10 to 15 hours online, very active on Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Instagram. TV, watches HGTV, travel, PBS. With a Hulu subscription, doesn't watch local TV or subscribe to cable. So they're streaming. Talks to you about those opportunities. Now you're probably wondering, how do you get this level of depth of information? We'll get into that in a little bit. But again, this takes time, it takes commitment, but the reward is there when used properly. Down here, this is perfect for messaging and offers. I'm concerned about cost. I'm concerned about fitting education into my lifestyle. I'm open to flexibility offered online, but short term, 6 to 8 weeks. But none of this 15-week stuff. And occasionally during the summer, would like to avoid winter holidays. Wants to use the education to gain employment outside the U.S. with a large global corporation. So you can get into much more specific, much more relevant content for this type of person with this type of information. Just to give you another quick example, slightly different. This was done for a car dealership who was interested in attracting more of their best customers. So we did some work with them and were able to identify that their typical best customer, the one who came there the most often, was a 40 to 45-year-old male, certain level of income, home ownership value, what they like to do for fun. Gets into the media usage as well. So similar information, slightly different for a slightly different situation for a slightly different business. So now, how did we get to this level of depth? What we started off with was an RFM analysis, a recency, frequency, and monetary analysis. And in all the situations, what we did was we took the organization's customer database for at least 12 months, if not 24 months. And then what we did was we looked at and ranked them on three different factors. How recently had they purchased from us? Those who had purchased that day, the day before, were at the top. Those who had purchased 12, 24 months ago were at the bottom. We divided that into quintiles, 5 equal groups, and awarded the top group 5 points, the next group 4, and so on down the line. So everybody got points. Then we ranked them again, same way, but on how frequently they had purchased during that time frame. The more frequently they purchased, they were at the top. The less frequently, they were at the bottom. Awarded the points, then moved on to the last, which was how much money had they spent buying from us in the last 12 to 24 months. The top ones are at the first quintile got 5 points. We ranked them all the way down. At the end of the day, you would have people, customers, with as many as 15 points. You'd rank them from high to low and put them into quintiles one more time. And that top quintile, that top 20%, was we considered the ideal customer. They bought the most frequently, and the most recently. Now you could use other factors. We added some others in for the higher education client that I mentioned earlier. But that's how we started it off. Now we know who they are, and we've got some information in our customer database that we can start off with. But we need more, and you saw that in the profiles, the personas. So that's when we turned and went to work with a data company. Now, I've worked with most of these folks on projects like this, with the college itself, worked with one of these companies, and what we did was we gave them that top 20%, and told them that we wanted to append data to it so that we could get a more robust idea, and then match them with their segments, because they have predefined segments already in their databases, and see where we fell in terms of our best customers and known segments, personas out in the marketplace. So they did that work, came back to us, and gave us some very good data on who our audience was. And then the next step for us was to get into it deeper, and that required some time. That required some personal interviews, going out and gathering, okay, well, what is your internet usage, and what are your selection criteria, and what is your buying process? I've worked with some companies where they have attempted to use their sales department to do that, because the sales team is out there on the road, and they had access to the customers. Not typically successful, because you didn't hire them to do research, you hired them to do sales. Strongly recommend that you hire the right people with a research background, the known processes, and the ability to safely store and then analyze the data for you so that you can get a good feel for what's going on. It's a little bit more money in the beginning, because you have to pay a vendor as opposed to have it done by someone who's already being paid to do other things. But it pays off in the long run, because the quality, the efficiency, it'll just be done better. Take my word for it. So you've got that, and then you begin to look at that data and develop the details of your own personas. Now, part of what I promised you, is one of the free handouts, is going to be these free template for the consumer and for the business buyer. Based on what we've talked about and what's laid out here, it's a good starting point. Again, personalize them. Make them more valuable for your situation. Change them, play with them, but please use them, because it gets everybody in the organization working on the same thing, and in realizing that they're dealing with people as opposed to that faceless customer out there in the wind somewhere. All right, next, 10 habits. The next best habit of a highly effective content marketer is understanding the buyer's decision-making process. And what we've got right here are 5 of the 6 stages for the consumer. They wake up and they realize they've got a need, they've got a problem. And then they begin to look for information, how to solve the problem, how to get it fixed, how to replace it, whatever the case might be. Evaluate alternatives, purchase decision, purchase, and then after the purchase, up here is the post-purchase decision. I left that off because I wanted to just work through the first buy on this for our talks today. But with content marketing and retention, loyalty, referrals, content marketing can be very, very effective. So if you have questions about that, feel free to contact me afterwards and we can talk about that in more detail. But just looking at the generating the lead, nurturing the lead, and turning it into a buyer, these are the steps you need to know. The next slide here will show you the business process. Slightly different for those of you who work in the B2B environment. You know how more people are involved, it's a more complex and more time-consuming process. Their first awareness and recognition, specifications and research, where they sit down and start talking with each other. What do we need? Who offers it? Who should we bring in for the proposals? Evaluation of proposals. And then in some instances they may order, or they may have what's called a review process, where they've made a decision that firm A looks most qualified to do what we need to do, but we need to get into more intense conversations so that they can come back to us with a very specific proposal, and we understand exactly what it is we're going to get, and then we'll make a buying decision at that after we've seen that more detailed proposal. The reason it's important to understand the buying process is the secret of great content marketing is getting the right message in offer into the hand of the right person at the right time. And they're going to have different wants and needs at different stages of this process. Down in here, they're looking for educational information. What are my options? What is exactly my problem? What is my need? What's out there? What works? What doesn't work? Who should I be considering? And it's on more educational pitch down here. If you came in here and just said buy today and say 50%, they're not ready to buy yet. They don't know enough to make a decision. So it wouldn't be, a good communication effort on your part. Up here, you're going to want testimonials. You're going to want demonstrations, free trials, and that's where the content is going to come in this area. And then up in here, you're going to want to remind them of the wisdom of their decision. How you get to that closing point, that I'm going to make a decision, and you have buyer's remorse, or you start to second guess yourself. You've got to remind them what they went through, what they were looking for, how you were better than the other options and ideal for their situation. So you're going to be talking about that kind of content in these later sections up in this area. This is what's going to come out of all of this. This was created for a client that had a slightly different set of stages. They preferred to look at it as their own internal sales cycle process. So you've got lead, marketing qualified, sales ready, purchase, post-purchase. But what each of these sections does is it describes what the messaging and the offer should be in these each of these stages, and then the media preferences that the audience has. So that gets to your distribution of your content. And up here is what the content will focus on. So at one point in the research, you're going to sit down and map this out so that you know exactly what you need to create for each persona at each stage of the buying process and what media it's going to be distributed through. Now, obviously, this is an ongoing process. You're going to want to revisit your personas annually, so plan on updating, adding, deleting, modifying the whole 9 yards. Remember, you're also going to be testing your content marketing with each segment and persona at each stage of the buying process. That'll be a constant learning process. Will lead to modifications on a more frequent basis than the annual big review. In the final design of your persona, as I said earlier, it reflects the issues and factors that are important to your business and actionable by your business. So these really are just examples that I just shared with you, and hopefully they're just a good starting point for discussion. The next habit, they have a written strategic plan. And as part of the giveaways today, you're getting my content marketing strategic plan template. It is 34 pages of step-by-step fill in the blanks, answer the questions, and at the end of the day, you have a strategic plan in writing. Why is this important? It gets everybody on the same page, so that as you work and implement the plan, everybody knows what they're supposed to do, why they're doing it, and who it impacts, so that everything can be done in a timely manner. The other thing is it stops, or at least helps fight against scope creep. You know them, Monday morning, everybody comes in from a long weekend, everybody's got a great new idea, and it means redirecting all the effort and doing something else. If you've got the written plan, you can sit there and go, that's not in the plan right now, happy to address it, but here's the process for addressing it. And if we're going to modify the plan, we need to modify, the workload, we need to modify the budget, we need to modify the deliverables, the whole 9 yards. And that tends to make more work out of just dropping a great big idea on your lap on a Monday morning, and it helps prevent the after effect of that type of a bombshell. So I highly recommend the plan. Also, it's phenomenal for training new hires, and it gets them up to speed faster, it makes them more productive. And the other side of the coin is, because you're mapping out what everybody else is doing in the department as it exists, it makes it much easier to evaluate, review, and people know when they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and when they're not. So the evaluation of existing employees is significantly easier with a written plan. So when you get this and you've had some time to look through it, if you've got questions, contact me. I'm happy to sit on a video conference call and answer any kind of questions you might have and walk you through it and give you some suggestions and help you with the planning itself. Effective processes. If you're going to create content, great content, and be able to get it distributed so that your audience can have access to it when they need it, you need to have an efficient process. How does a content marketing campaign start? What are the steps within it? How does it get approved so that it can be put into the marketplace and distributed to your audience? Now, this is your other takeaway from today. It is an editorial calendar and production schedule workbook. Training video available there, and again, you can always call me. I'm happy to answer any questions and help you with it. This is an interactive, customizable tool that will allow you to map out and identify each step of the production process, from kickoff to reviews to approvals to distribution. It will allow you to assign people who are responsible for the tasks and set up dependent and independent tasks, so that when you have something that needs to be done before somebody can start doing their job, you can link those two together and see and track and manage that so that everything works more effectively. It's a great way to plan out what your goals and objectives will be and your budget, so that you can look at each individual effort and campaign within your total program and say, this one is going to cost X, but it's going to generate Y, and that's an acceptable return. And if it's not, then you know you don't have to do it, you have to rethink it, or you have to put the money towards something else. So take a look at that. And again, when you have questions, if you have questions, don't hesitate to give me a call, but you've got to have efficient processes in there, because if you don't, you never know when something's going to be approved. You never know when the next person's going to be handing you something that you need to turn around quickly and unexpectedly. It just helps with the performance and efficiency of your in-house department and working with external vendors if that's the case. I've mentioned distribution plan a few times. It's overlooked by so many people and so many businesses. The focus tends to be on, we've got to create content, and when you ask, okay, well, how are you going to distribute it? How are you going to get it into the hands of your audience? Excuse me, at the right time? you get some blank stares. Well, I'm going to put it up in a blog post. I'm going to put it up on the website. Well, there's other ways to distribute it. Will you be using paid distribution channels? Will you be doing sponsoring content on Facebook or other social media channels so that you can basically, through paid advertisement, reach people who look like your audience, your personas, and make that offer more directly to them? Will you be incorporating it into your more traditional campaigns? Say, for example, if you utilize direct mail, will this be the offer? Will the workbook be an offer for one of your business clients? Will a free sample be, or a demonstration, or an invitation to a hosted event be something that you offer the consumer? Will you be putting it in earned media, where you've got the local media doing reviews and making the public aware of what you've got going? There's a lot of decisions there. What is the distribution plan going to be? Be very specific with it. So that's a big difference for those highly effective content marketing efforts, programs. Next, performance metrics and analytics. It's not just about downloads, likes, shares. I'm a huge believer in tying content marketing efforts to the business goals and objectives, which tend to be more along the lines of how many new customers did it generate, how many customers did it retain, how many did it impact average order size, order frequency, total sales, total revenue. Those are the harder metrics, as far as I'm concerned, and the more relevant ones for the business. If you start getting into that game of, well, you're walking into the monthly performance meetings with the leadership team, and all you can talk about is we had 27 downloads, it's not going to be as impactful as this campaign generated 5 new customers who purchased $1,000 worth of product on average and generated $5,000 worth of sales in the last 2 weeks. So set up your performance metrics to match your business goals and objectives, and then make sure there are easy ways to capture that data and store that data so that it can be analyzed and reported on. That's the other side of the coin, is making sure that you have access to the ability to capture the right data. And if you don't, then let's bring it to management leadership's attention and find a way to get it done, because you want to be reporting on revenue and profits and sales and retention, not likes and downloads. Test. If you guys aren't testing, start testing. Creative, messaging, offers, media channels, audiences, segments, time of day. With email marketing, if you're distributing your content through your email, what day gets you the best return? What time gets you the best return? If you are testing email, again, look at what subjects and offers are getting the best response. Play with headers, headlines. Play with design. Turn that white paper with one type of cover and one headline that's maybe focused more on fear to a different image and headline that's focused more on peace of mind and success, because maybe that positive spin will have a better impact on your clients than your audience than the fear factor will. Repurpose content. We work hard, there's a lot on our plate, so look for ways to reuse content in a smart way. And this montage of images here is a good example. You take a video interview with a senior exec, and you then cut it down into shorter sound bites. Maybe you take a 30-minute piece and maybe you get 8 or 9 1 to 2 minute pieces out of that are really good. You take the audio content, you turn it into a podcast. You take the transcript and you turn it into a project report and a special white paper, and then you chop that white paper up into 8 or 9 different blog posts. So you're getting a lot for your money on that 30 minutes with the boss or whoever it is that you interview. It could be a client, could be leadership team, it could be one of the head engineers that designed the software, whatever the case might be. But look for ways to repurpose content, and it'll save you a lot of time, it'll save you a lot of money, and it'll definitely turn up profitable in the long run. Build your email list, huge. It's going to be one of the bigger ways you're going to distribute your content. And to be perfectly honest with you, you want to own the names, the contact information. Got a lot of people that I've worked with who said, yeah, well, our prospects, before they become our clients, they follow us on social media. We've got 1 million followers on Facebook. We've got 300,000 on Instagram. Well, good for you. Name them. And you can't, because you don't own that content. You don't own the contact information. When you put a post on Facebook up from your business page, because of the algorithms, you're reaching about 3% of your followers. Why? Because Facebook is in the ad business as well as data business, and if they allowed you to reach everybody in your follower base for free, what would your motivation be for paying for advertising? No. So this allows them to control your reach and your ability to get a message out in a timely manner. So why rely on them? Do everything you can to get those followers to raise their hand, give you their contact information, and get on your list. And that's for any social media site at all. And obviously off of social media, if you're in the business world and you're in the B2B world, and you're going to conferences and trade shows and you're setting up booths for the display areas, make sure you're capturing the email addresses there. Get their approval, have them sign a sheet, have them give you the card with permission, and put them on the list. Don't let them get away without making sure you've got them on the subscription list, not the salesperson's personal lead sheet, but the subscription list. Leverage your audience. This is another highly effective way for content marketing to work for you, and that's to get your customers to share the glory. And I don't know if either of these two organizations ring a bell with you, but please take a moment. Go to, I'd suggest REI's website in both of their YouTube channels, and you're going to see a lot of really good video content that has been produced and shared by their customer base. REI, if you don't know them, is camping and outdoors, hiking, things of that nature. And their customer base are just rabid enthusiasts. And when they go out for a hike with REI product and they do a video and they show how it works and why it was the best thing to get for the weather conditions and the terrain, it just is more emotional and more relevant and believable for your audience to believe your audience than it is to believe you when you're preaching about yourself. GoPro is another great example. Theirs is mostly, from what I've seen, on their YouTube channel. Incredible footage on how people have used the camera to capture incredible moments. And again, it just, you watch it and it's very emotional, it's very relevant, and it's very believable because it's real people doing it. And that kind of content can go a long, long way. And it's done by somebody else, so it's always nice to have that happen too. Last one here is know your competition. You want to be different, you want to be unique, you want to be relevant and valuable to your audience. So know what your competition is doing so that you are sure that you are unique and valuable in comparison. Look for opportunities to differentiate yourself with your content from them so that you are not doing the same thing that they are, which is going to lead to your audience saying, oh, I learned this great thing the other day. I can't remember who told me, but blah, and they tell the story that was in your white paper or your blog post or your webinar, and you don't get credit for it. So watch what they're doing and learn how to be different from them. So right now, that brings us to the end of the 10 habits of highly effective content marketing. Hope you found that interesting. We'll take some questions right now. The first question was about user submitted contact, customer submitted contact. How do you get it, and how do you make sure that it's usable, and how do you manage the process? And those are great questions, because it's not going to be something you're just going to say, hi, send us your content. You're suddenly going to get a wealth of wonderful stuff. You may be running some contests that have very specific terms for what is going to be acceptable and the focus of it. You may want to go out and identify a handful of your best customers and work with them if they're open to it, for them to produce the content and provide it, and then use that as examples for others to follow. It's going to require some management. Again, you're going to want to review everything that comes in, make sure it meets certain standards, and then figure out as a team how to use that content the best way. It may not just be slapping it up on the YouTube channel. It may be used in a variety of ways. So I think the best way to get started is, what do you want to get? Identify that and then figure out how to get it. And if that is a contest with rules and terms for judging and that type of thing, that's one path. The other path might be reaching out to some existing clients who are rabid fans and working with them. Maybe both, if you got the resources to do both. But have a clear idea of what it is you want, and then work with your audience to get it. They may come back to you and say, oh, I got a better idea, and they're right. But if you go out there and go, what can you give us? You're going to suffer from them trying to figure out what they want to do. It's best to give some directions and say, we're looking for the following type of content that's going to do the following types of things, and in return we'll do X for you. So I would pursue it that way. And this other question here is about metrics and analytics. What are the key metrics? For me, if you've read any of my posts about data in the past, I tend to be very critical and question the quality of any kind of data that comes to me. How was it captured? How do we know it's accurate? What are the weaknesses of it? Because you're not going to get anything that's 100% perfect. But I tend to focus more on revenue, retention of customers. How do we know it? If these bits of content, let's say you're working on a retention strategy, or maybe even a customer win-back strategy with your content. How are you going to be able to measure the number of people who consider themselves former clients and are now coming back into the fold and becoming active again based on your efforts? How do you know that you retained someone? In order to retain, you have to realize they're at risk. Otherwise, they've left, and then you're trying to win them back. A lot of people will say, well, our retention efforts are aimed at people who haven't bought much in the last 6 months. Well, that may be too late. But if you can find out earlier in the process the actions or inactions of those that are highly at risk, and design your content strategy for those people to reinforce and overcome those concerns, to reinforce the benefits that you give. The ability for you to then measure. We had 25 people who were at risk, and 10 of them have now come back and started to buy at a higher frequency, or at the same frequency they had been 6 months ago when they were at their peak, or whatever the metrics decide to be. You decide to have as the metrics. But dive into it and be creative with it. Have some fun with it. Just make sure it's data that you can get your hands on easily and isn't going to take 4 more things from the IT department to do before you can get the data, because with their 2-year plan, you may never live to see the action take place. I hope that was helpful. If it's not, feel free to contact me afterwards, and we can get into more specifics to what your situation is, which may be a little bit more valuable for you that way. All right. That's it for now. I've got a couple other questions that I'll put into the follow-up email. I want to thank you for those, but I don't want to run over the allotted time, and I do want to get to the good stuff. And I hope it's good stuff. I want your feedback on this as well. You've got some good handouts, I think, from today's webinar, but I wanted to talk to you about something new that I've launched. It's on the website. You can find it in the navigation bar. It's called Content, and it is an online education, mentoring, and networking community for content marketers. What I wanted to create was one place where we could go and get good quality education, information, answers, support from our colleagues, and that's what I'm working on there and launched. It's an annual subscription program, but it allows you complete and total access to online courses. Right now, there is a Introduction to Content Marketing certificate course, and I'm about to launch an email marketing advanced course that will be a certificate course as well. And there will be several others down the line. There's a list on the site, and I'll show you how to get to that in just a little bit. It is going to include group and one-on-one mentoring. So when you have questions and you want to talk to me about how to address certain issues, let's schedule up some time and let's talk it through. I think that and the group mentoring, where we all get together and discuss certain topics, will be incredibly valuable to all of us as we move forward. Exclusive access to certain content marketing webinars like this and like others that I have scheduled up, only these will be for the community. And you guys will be able to vote, pick the topics, and I will put together the presentation, the webinar, and if it makes sense, I will be inviting guest presenters based on what you guys want to talk about. So I think that'll be incredibly valuable as well. Exclusive access to an online community for networking. This way you can reach out on your own to other people, ask questions, get input, meet, greet, extend your network, and help both your personal and professional career. Unlimited access to course updates and new courses. So as long as you're a member of the community, you can come in and have access to any changes that are made in the courses that you've taken and any new courses that are added. Access to downloadable content, including audio lessons, worksheets, checklists, and more. So I've tried to make this as robust as possible. I think this is a very good offer, and would love to hear your feedback on it when you get a chance. Now, I want to give you a little bit more details as to the platform that this is on. Having taught online for almost 10 years now, used Blackboard, Desire to Learn, and several other proprietary LMSs, I did a lot of research and came to the conclusion that Thinkific was ideal for this situation. It's an all-in-one online course platform, and it allows us to create and deliver really beautiful courses easily. I was very impressed with the student view of it and the way the classroom works. I think it's extraordinary, so I'm real proud about that. Check them out if you're interested. I mentioned that I've lied to you. It's up. It's already launched. It's a soft launch right now. I haven't started to actually promote it aggressively as I plan to starting in mid-September, but the Introduction to Content Marketing course is up, and the certificate of completion comes from Accredible. That is a firm that is the world's most comprehensive badge and certificate service. Not me sitting at the table with my crayons coming up with a pretty little title for you to put on the refrigerator. This is a digital certificate that will travel with you, and you can put it on LinkedIn, your resume. Employers will be able to look at it, and it's got some weight to it. The course, content marketing course, right now, what it has in there in the lessons. What is content marketing? How does it work? How to define your content marketing goals, creating your content marketing budget, why storytelling is critical to success, how to create consumer and business buyer personas, understanding the consumer and business buyer process. Now, I mentioned Credible. These are some of the firms and universities that they work with and manage the digital certificates and badges for. So Thinkific partnered with them for this service, and that was another huge factor in the decision-making process and why I went with Thinkific. Next, special offer is 1 free year trial to Content, the community. That means you've got access for free to that Intro to Content Marketing certificate course. In a few weeks, you will have access as part of this to an advanced email marketing certificate course. And there will be more, as I promised, over the coming year. In order to do this, you need to use the coupon code 12FREETEST, FREETEST, all lowercase. And let me just take a moment and show you how to get there so that you can see what's offered, learn a little bit more, get a feel for it, and then use the code to sign up for your free trial. All right, here is my website and the lovely little free content marketing certificate course. All right, content up here in the navigation link. Click on that, and this takes you to the community section. It will explain what content is all about, like I just did, who should join, and it is for novice all the way up to expert content marketers. And check out the Intro Content Marketing course. Click on Learn More. You'll see $49.99, but don't worry about it. You've got a coupon. And if you go down here, you'll see what the courses are. You'll notice that there's video content, audio content, and PDFs, which are the articles that the lecture is based on. So you've got the different formats to use. There's a final exam so that you get the certificate. There's an example of the certificate, learning objectives, special bonus content. These are also part of the course, so you've already got them, but you would get a copy of them again if you were taking the course for free. More than you ever wanted to know about me, and that's how you go. When you're ready, if you're interested in taking the course, you click on the button, go ahead and fill it out. That registers you with content, and then when you're done with this, it will, let me just fill it in, Pat Groa. It will take you here. You've got a coupon. You enter it in, you hit apply, and you're all set to go. All right, well, that is how you can do it. I'll put this content information back up. There's the code again so that you can write that down. My contact information. If you know of someone else who would be interested in this, feel free to pass this along. That brings us to a close for today at about the 55-minute mark. Good. You got 5-minute early dismissal. Thanks again for coming here today. I really appreciate it. I know how busy you all are. You will be getting an email, as I mentioned earlier, within 24 hours to answer. It'll have the answers to the questions that were asked today. It will have the link to the archive, and it will also have a link to the content site so that you can take a look at it and come to a decision. I hope to see you in the community and in the course, and hope to see you also at future webinars. Got one coming up in September for email marketing that I think you'll find interesting, and feel free to share that with others. I'll be sending out invitations in probably the next 3 to 5 days. All right. Have a good day, everybody.